Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore the strategies that drive successful decision making in the world of business. Why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Tisha Cable, CEO of C Model Data, and today we have a leader in media operations and client experience and also account strategy. Her name is Lauren. She's the Vice President of Client Experience and Operations at Vox Media. Lauren brings a powerful background in strategic leadership across major digital media companies, and we are pumped that she's here with us today. Lauren, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. Would you tell us more about you, more about your experience, and more about Vox Media?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a fantastic intro. So as you mentioned, I'm the Vice President of Client Experience and Operations at Vox Media. What that means is leading pre-sale planning strategy, post-sale execution, and account management for all of our partnerships, all of our client-funded campaigns. My job also is very focused on ensuring that our operations, our internal operations, from that moment we get that proposal out the door to the moment the wrap deck is out to the client and we are telling that post-campaign story, that everything in between from an operational perspective is clean and efficient and is as frictionless as possible internally. So then the client has the best experience with us throughout the campaign.
Fantastic. So here's a little interesting nugget here. So the digital media landscape has really undergone an extraordinary transformation. You got streaming platforms, they have more fragmented audiences. Social algorithms are constantly reshaping content distribution, and the shift toward privacy first advertising has really fundamentally disrupted how
Right.
brands reach consumers, right? But meanwhile, Vox operates a portfolio of very distinctive editorial brands, each one that has its own voice, audience, and content philosophy. Also running one of the largest podcast networks in the industry. So
Right.
when you're building client experience strategies that serve brands, advertising across this really diverse ecosystem, how do you balance the creative integrity and editorial independence that makes each property valuable against the operational consistency and efficiency that clients really expect from their unified media part?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my team is focused on that client experience. So we want to make sure that all of our internal operations, all of our conversations internally are exactly that. They're internal and the client sees us as like a unified partner to work with. And there's a reason they want to work with us, right? Like we have this portfolio of brands. We have all of these different voices that they want to tap into to be part of that story and be part of our editorial. So because our brand's voices are so strong and because our IP is so strong and we have some great talent that goes along with it, it's our conversation to the client when they want to maybe have a bit of a heavier hand in some of the creative or some of the decision making when it comes to who that content is serving or what that content is about. It's our job to remind them why they came to us in the first place, right? Like this IP speaks for itself, and our readers and our users or the attendees to our events that we've been doing more and more of, they're immersed in the brands. And when our clients are part of that too, it feels natural and it feels just like part of the overall experience that they're there to get with Vox Media.
I love that. And I love that you've been such an integral part, too, of bringing this stuff together within your team. I was reading about how you were bringing together, you got Pop Sugar and the Dodo, the Thrillist, now this and
Yeah.
the Seeker, right? And you've had to bring all these things together with Vox's existing properties through an acquisition. Can you walk me through a moment when you really discovered unexpected synergies during these integrations? Maybe there were capabilities from one brand's operations that elevated how another brand could serve clients, or maybe it was team members who brought approaches that challenged assumptions about how integrated media companies should actually function. Tell me a little bit about how you create space.
So this month will mark 12 years with the company, which is absolutely wild. It's crazy to think about, but I can definitely very well answer that question because I started at Pop Sugar and I started at Pop Sugar 12 years ago and it was a much smaller team. It was a single focus in terms of the advertisers that we brought on board. And then we were acquired by Group 9. And all of a sudden we had Thrillist and we had
Yeah.
advertisers for different target audience, like answers for different target audiences that these advertisers had that we didn't have before. And then being acquired by Group 9 a few years after, now there's a answer for every target that any advertiser has. And that's been a cool evolution to see. It was so fun working at Pop Sugar 12 years ago. It was the same advertiser or type of advertiser every time because we had one target audience to offer, and it was a great one, of course. Expanding that breadth of what we have available for these
Yeah.
advertisers, now we have every target audience that any brand could ever want to hit, and that's been really cool to see, and evolution of that has been really cool to see because it's brought on opportunities to work with advertisers that we never had the chance to work with before.
Yeah.
And then the talent too. Like as these companies have come together, the talent has come together too. They were incredible companies in their own right. And
Yeah.
now that talent is combined, the internal talent is combined, and honestly the editorial talent too. Like the power of the editorial brands has just multiplied, and then the talent has gotten better along the way as well because we are combining companies that were great and now they're even better together.
Yeah. So number one, I like better together is always good
Yeah.
because good is good.
Yeah.
So Vox Media, you serve brands that are across really different verticals. You got luxury fashion
Yeah.
advertisers on Pop Sugar. You got tech companies on The Verge. You
Yeah.
got cause-driven organizations on Now This. These clients have fundamentally different objectives. They have different success metrics and different risk tolerance, right? So when you're allocating operational resources and really building client experience capabilities,
Yeah.
how do you create offerings that serve these diverse needs without building completely separate operations for each one of those verticals? Is there a framework that you're using that helps you identify universal client value, maybe beneath what might look like different requirements?
Yeah, absolutely. There is the universal framework that we use for the workflow internally is all based in the same way of operations in terms of the order in which things happen and the folks that are involved each stage of the process. So there's alignment there. There absolutely has to be differences in terms of when we are working with different types of clients. So for example, some of our clients are very data driven. So we know that when we work with those clients, that any reporting that we provide them, especially when it comes to wrap reporting, is graph driven, data driven. It is about the numbers. They want to get right down to it. They don't care how pretty that deck looks and they want to get
Right.
right into it. And then we have other clients that want the storytelling. They want the beautiful imagery. They want to make sure that they have the more anecdotal information of what our audiences are, what they like and why that content was successful, and really diving into what we can do next time from a content perspective. And so while the framework of the workflow remains the same for consistency and therefore hopefully efficiency as things move down the sales cycle, the team is well equipped to understand the nuances of their particular clients because maybe
Mhm.
they've worked with them for a long time before, or they've worked at least with that type of industry before and they know what they're looking for and therefore need to tailor the external communication to align. And my team's job, and especially in post sale for the account management side of things, is to translate to the internal teams everything that the client needs, and then vice versa too, right? Translate to the client out everything that's happening internally, and they need to be able to speak the voices of each. So that's the talent of that team, absolutely, is to know how to speak to certain types of clients and then how to take what certain types of clients are saying and translate that to our different brands internally, because maybe there's a certain type of feedback that a client has for the content versus the content that we're doing with Pop Sugar. We need to tailor it to the right teams internally and then take it back, tailor it to the right teams externally. So it's a lot of translation, a lot of being able to toe that line as an account manager on the team.
Yeah, spoken like a true customer focused
Always.
leader, right? Everything from the profile to the voice. I mean, this is the language of the customer, and I really appreciate hearing you speak it. So this is a little note for our audience. I want you to think about your organization's operational strategy and client experience efforts. What process-driven decisions have created the most meaningful impact for your business outcomes? Share your experiences with us on LinkedIn and other social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. Okay, Let's talk a little bit about leadership and innovation in operations for you. So you've really had a great career that has progressed, coming from account management through really senior roles and client experience at Vox Media.
Mhm.
Each of these transitions required expanding your perspective, right? Of course, in early account management, you're focused on individual client relationships, campaign execution, sales ops, demand processes. You're thinking and systems design. Okay. And now you're at like cross-functional orchestration, long-term vision right now. I'm thinking about your career now.
Mhm.
Can you walk me through the most transformative learning from one of these transitions that you've experienced in your career? Is there a particular capability that you developed that fundamentally changes how you approach operations and strategy?
Yeah, I think there has been, and especially the fact that we've gone through 2 mergers in the last 6 years, and I've had to lead the team through all of those and work with the different teams across each company to create synergy and create a process that makes sense, all without showing those merger cards to our clients. And so I've learned a lot through those 2 mergers and just throughout my career. When I started in my career, and when anyone starts in their career, I think they're very focused on themselves, which is they should be, right? Like
Right.
that's
It's baby
their
mode.
world. Yes.
Right.
And so the decisions that are being made are for your immediate self, or maybe if you become a manager, they're for your immediate team. As you grow in an organization, it becomes imperative that your decisions are for the business. And sometimes that means a give and a take for your particular team, but you need to have the ability to zoom out, understand what each org needs within the company, what each org's goals are, and then have alignment from a leadership perspective on what the shared goals are.
Yeah.
And that has been a skill that has been learned over the years, and a skill that I think is so important when leading a team, especially in a large company, especially through mergers with many different organizations, is understanding the goals of each team and then trying to get to that common goal where we can all row in the same direction and be aligned towards what those goals are. And those goals should be a healthy organization that's growing, that has happy employees and happy clients. And there are some gives and takes when it comes to getting there. And growing in leadership is knowing when your decision might have a give from your team, but ultimately it's better for the org, so it's better for them eventually as well, because that's what keeps the company thriving. So that has been a big learning over the years, and then understanding that the alignment amongst the leadership team is so important, and realizing that there's a difference between agreement and alignment.
Mhm.
So everyone might not agree on the decision that's being made, or maybe they have some more reservations than others about a certain decision that's being made. But as long as everyone is aligned on the why and how to translate that why to their team, that is the most important part, especially as companies grow and there are multiple organizations within the company that needs to disseminate that same information, because
Mhm.
the clarity behind the why and the feeling that their leadership team is at least aligned drives the adoption of those decisions.
You said a whole word, and I'm going to bring it back for the audience because it's super important. You talked about your growth, but the one thing you did as you grew was you zoomed out.
Yes.
Man, okay, that is I just sat here, I was listening to you talk, but I was also thinking about this concept of zooming out and how important that is, and as you zoom out, the only thing that really balances out that zoom is that you're anchored on the why all along the way. So, yep, she just gave that was a I'm gonna call that nugget of
Love it.
wisdom.
Yes.
Nugget of wisdom. Okay, here's my favorite thing. People are probably hearing sick of me saying this is my favorite thing because I say it every episode. Here it is, though. This is called a decision making persona assessment. Okay. So we're going to explore your decision making style through this assessment. So I'm going to ask you 4 different questions that represent different decision making approaches. And after each one, you're going to tell me how much the way that I'm asking that question resonates with how you actually approach your decisions on a scale 0 to 100%. That's your scale. Okay. Now, here's the thing across all 4, you only get 100%. So you have to keep track.
All right.
Okay. You're only working with 100%, and I'm not gonna give them all to you up front. You're gonna have to do it
Got it.
one at a time, and you'll tell me a little why.
So the safe bet is to go 25, but it's not the truth.
Right, so we don't want that because we
Right.
we like honesty here, so
Exactly.
transparency and honesty.
Do it.
Here we go.
Let's do it.
Here's the first one. It's called the feeler. It's a values driven leader. So this persona prioritizes alignment with core values and mission,
Mhm.
often weighing the human impact and cultural fit of decisions alongside business metrics. So when I'm evaluating a new operational process or significant shift in our client experience strategy, perhaps implementing automation that increases efficiency
Mhm.
or restructuring account teams for better coverage, I ask myself, beyond the business metrics, how does this decision strengthen our commitment to being a trusted partner to both clients and our editorial teams? If this change increases client satisfaction scores, but creates unsustainable pressure on account managers or forces creative teams into workflows that undermine their best work, have we actually improved operations or just optimized for the wrong outcomes? When client partners with Vox Media, they're choosing us for the distinctive voices and authentic content our brands create. I need confidence that operational decisions honor the creative people who make the magic happen while delivering the seamless experience that clients deserve. The question becomes, does this change make Vox Media a better place to build your career and a more valuable partner for brands, or are we creating tension we'll pay for later? So, Lauren, how much does approaching decisions by asking yourself that kind of values based question resonate with you?
This is so timely right now in the world of automation and making sure that we can be as efficient as possible. And one of those things that we have to balance is ensuring that automation is adopted as an accelerator versus a replacer for the human thought. And that we have to do is very intentionally, because there are absolutely opportunities. If companies don't implement it, they'll get left behind, right? But then there's the other side of it, and knowing there's 3 more to come, I'm gonna put for 35% on that one.
Okay, here we go. The next one is called the planner. It's a strategic visionary. So this persona focuses on long-term implications and future-proofing decisions, always thinking several moves ahead and considering multiple scenarios. So when I'm making strategic decisions about client experience architecture or operational tooling, whether to invest in AI-powered campaign
Mm.
optimization, build deeper first-party data capabilities, or restructure how we support cross-platform campaigns, I ask myself, what are the second and third order effects across multiple future scenarios? If cookie depreciation and privacy regulations continue reshaping targeting capabilities, does this infrastructure position us to deliver value through contextual relevance and audience insights that our competitors can't match? If podcasting continues explosive growth while social platform algorithms become less predictable, does our operational design let us scale winning formats while maintaining the quality that drives listener loyalty? If economic pressure forces clients to scrutinize every media dollar more intensely, have we built systems that transparently demonstrate impact and create efficiency that benefits both sides? I'm mapping how today's operational decisions either expand or constrain Vox Media's ability to lead through futures where attention further fragments, where AI transform content creation, or where entirely new platforms emerge that we haven't even imagined yet. Okay, so Lauren, how much does that forward thinking, scenario planning approach to questioning resonate with your decision making?
Problem is 100%, but I can't give 100%. Like, that is, like, everything that you just said is that is what my brain is thinking 100% of the time. That is my specialty. That is absolutely what we are talking about in almost every meeting that we have these days. So I know that I don't have 100% to give, and I know there's 2 more coming. It is definitely the majority of my brain and the majority of what I spend my energy on. So I have to go 50%.
Ooh,
No,
okay. All
I know.
right.
I'm
Well,
nervous about what's to come, though. We'll see.
wow, like
I'll
that's
I'll
a
I'll
big
let you
one.
know how I feel about the final result.
Okay, girl, go ahead with your 50%. Okay, here we go. This next one is called the counter. It's the challenger of assumptions. So, this
Mhm.
persona naturally questions conventional wisdom and looks for contrarian opportunities, often finding success by zigging when others zag. So, when I see the media industry obsessing over programmatic efficiency, volume and cost per thousand metrics, I ask myself, what if we're optimizing for metrics that don't actually predict client success? What if the real competitive advantage comes from operational capabilities that traditional media operation frameworks completely miss? The industry has accepted certain orthodoxies that bigger sales teams drive more revenue, that operational efficiency means standardized processes,
Mhm.
that client success depends primarily on campaign performance metrics. But what if some of our best growth opportunities come from challenging those assumptions? What if Vox Media's unique portfolio of brands with distinct audiences and voice creates opportunities for operational innovation that consolidated media companies of pure play programmatic platforms can't replicate? What conventional wisdom about how media operations should function could we question to unlock entirely new forms of client value? What if our competitive edge comes from building operational capabilities that enable things our clients didn't know they needed?
Right.
Boom.
Also extremely important. And knowing that by my calculations, I have 15% left.
You got 15.
I'm I'm gonna go with 10 on that one, and I'll find out what I'm leaving my 5 to. But it is so important because things are ever changing and the whole landscape is changing. And where we're seeing growth is not the same place we were seeing growth 5 years ago, 3 years ago, even 2 years ago in some places. So things are constantly evolving and you have to be ahead of the curve and try and understand what's next. And also there are some things that you just can't predict and then you have to be able to adapt very quickly to them. So it's something that is always a part of decision making. So, for example, like the explosiveness of podcasts, and now even in the last year, podcast also equals video, and so it that has been a big change to make sure that we are getting ahead of. And then from the publishing side of things, AI has replaced a lot of people like actually clicking to websites because it's aggregated right in the search. So then how do we make it sticky? How do we make sure that there's a community there that people want to be there and be a part of? You have to be as proactive as possible, but in some instances things move so fast you have no choice but to be reactive and just move faster than everyone else in terms of that reaction.
That's good. Sometimes you went on execution. Boom.
Yeah.
There it is. All right, here's your very last one. You ready?
Yeah.
It's called the data driver. It's an evidence-based decision maker. So this persona relies heavily on metrics, analytics, and concrete evidence to validate decisions, preferring proof over intuition. So before committing to operational investments or restructuring client experience approaches, I ask myself, what insights can our data reveal about the relationships between operational design and client outcomes? I want to understand not just campaign delivery metrics, but patterns in client retention and account structure, like revenue growth by service model and satisfaction scores segmented by how teams are organized and workflows are designed. Analyzing which operational approaches consistently predict long term partnership value versus which just optimize for short term efficiency. That helps identify what actually drives sustainable success. The same time, however, I am asking myself, what additional signals complement the quantitative data? How do account teams describe moments when client relationships deepen from transactional to strategic? What qualitative feedback from editorial teams reveals when operational processes enable rather than constrain their best work? The goal is building comprehensive decision frameworks that combine performance analytics with human insight so that we're creating operations that serve both measurable business outcomes and less quantifiable factors like trust, creative excellence, authentic partnerships that ultimately determine whether clients view Vox Media as vendors or indispensable strategic partners. So, Lauren, how much does that data driven, evidence focused approach to questioning resonate with how you make your strategic decisions?
No, I only have 5% left. I have to go with
Only five.
5%. Right? However, if given all, which I know is not the game, but if given all at once, it would be more than that. Looking back on the full exercise, I would put it in that order in terms of like what I gave most and what I gave the smaller numbers. It's data is so important. It truly is. Intuition and gut is also very important. The unpredictability of the industry that we work in, I trust that too.
There you
It has
go.
to be a mix of both. And I think maybe that's something else that I've learned over the years, that there's so much data, there's so much information, and taking that all in, of course, but understanding that your gut and your intuition is also sort of a data bank of based on experience. And it's important to take that into your decision making as well.
Absolutely. Your expertise has a seat at the table for sure. For sure. So you've helped organizations across diverse media and ad tech companies to really streamline their operations and elevate client experience through periods of growth, right? And even these periods of acquisition, which is admirable. If you could give one piece of advice to these leaders who might be looking to leverage strategic operations for meaningful client and business transformation, what would that advice be?
Clarity is so important. Clarity for your employees is the way that it gets adapted quickly, and rallying everyone again behind that why. And it starts with the leadership team. It starts with focusing on making sure your leadership team is aligned on how we're talking about decisions and how we're driving things forward. It's also very important to realize how you need to change maybe even your decisions, but definitely your workflow, definitely your systems as you scale. So there are things that should be implemented in terms of maybe it's a quarterly audit of let's go through the workflow. Let's see if there's anything that's not working and make sure that we fix those little inefficiencies because before they become big problems. And so making sure that the team has shared clarity, shared understanding behind the why, and then normalizing changing it and making it evolve along with your company along the way. Because what got you here won't get you there, right? Like you have to
Yeah.
be able to be agile and change how you're doing things in order to get to the next level. And the way to do that in a way that's effective is to lean into the clarity with the organization.
I love it. Clarity, zoom out, know your why. These are great pieces of advice, Lauren. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you for sharing your expertise. It's been a pleasure. Would
Thank you
you
for
share,
having me.
of course, share with our audience where they can learn more about you and more about Vox?
Yeah. So our portfolio of brands, we have many of them, but you can check out voxmedia.com to see what those are all about. And then find me on LinkedIn, Lauren Winter.
Fantastic. And to our listeners, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, the best decisions come from great conversations. If you've enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to subscribe it, rate it, share it with your network, and let's keep the conversation going on social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. And until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.